Breaking: China shocks Europe with $4.8 billion purchase. In 2016, China's state-owned shipping giant COSCO acquired a majority stake at the Piraeus Port Authority, which manages the port. This week, it was announced that COSCO has now acquired full ownership of the port for $4.8 billion. In today's video, we'll be discussing the largest Chinese investments in Europe to date and is seen as a major strategic move by China. In 2008, as the first signals of the financial crisis began to surface, many European countries found themselves in a hazardous economic position, with their progress slowing down. Greece, in particular, faced a serious problem with servicing its debt, and many Greeks participated in strikes to express the discontent. The severe economic conditions forced the Greek government to sell off its own land, including the port of Piraeus, which is now on the brink of bankruptcy due to poor administration. However, nations are hesitant to take over the port because they know it will eventually be abandoned. China paid $48 million for the port and received a 35-year franchise in return. This historic event had repercussions felt throughout the globe, and many European nations viewed China's acquisition of the port of Piraeus as a hasty move. Given the disarray of the port of Piraeus, one may wonder why China chose to acquire it. Additionally, I was wondering about the current activity of the port, if you don't mind me asking. When we think of Europe, we often associate it with a booming economy. Member states of the European Union, such as Germany, the United Kingdom, and France, have consistently had some of the highest GDPs in the world. However, the idea that Europe would also have smaller states like Greece with slower growing economies is a relatively new one. Greece's economy is growing at a slower pace, and whenever it faces economic crises, it encounters significant challenges that could potentially lead to insolvency. Greece, one of the four ancient civilizations of the world, has been admired for its strategic location on the southeastern coast of the European peninsula. Greece was invited to join the European Union after World War I due to its strategic position, resulting in rapid change in its political economy since the 1960s. The success of the tourist industry in Greece has led to a rise in its stature in the international community, and its GDP has expanded at a rapid pace. However, Greece's economy was severely affected and eventually destroyed by economic crises, including the Greek sovereign debt crisis. The European Union member nations have chosen to ignore Greece's dire economic situation instead of offering assistance or empathy to find a solution. State-owned assets in Greece were sold off at steep discounts, including the port of Piraeus, which is Greece's main port of entry for foreign commerce. Despite no American or European government accepting Greece's offer to give up sovereignty of the port, China paid $4.8 billion USD for it and received a license to use Piers 2 and 3 over a period of 35 years. Regrettably, European countries struggled to understand China's approach when news of the purchase spread. Many European nations disapproved of China's acquisition of the Greek port of Piraeus. According to a study, the losses for the port of Piraeus may reach up to 13 million euros. Several facilities inside the port are now inoperable due to the considerable period of time that has passed since they were last serviced. Greece's economic crisis also resulted in dock employees being unable to receive compensation for their time. Understandably, the employees were upset by this turn of events. After acquiring the port of Piraeus, all operations are now overseen by the Chinese government. Some European nations see the acquisition as unwise, as they believe China paid an excessive fee of $48 million for a port that was almost bankrupt. However, China made the acquisition due to two main factors. The situations originating from and the principal cause of Europe's nations stand to gain little from China's implementation of the One Belt, One Road program. And China needs a port that is safe, functional, and trustworthy to ship domestic commodities to European nations for export. China's acquisition of the port of Piraeus is a part of its Belt and Road Initiative, which aims to improve connectivity and trade between Asia, Europe, Africa, and the Middle East through a network of infrastructure projects, including ports, railways, highways, and airports. The port of Piraeus is strategically located on the Mediterranean Sea and serves as a gateway to Europe, making it an important hub for China's trade and investment in the region. However, China's acquisition of the port has raised concerns about European nations, particularly regarding China's growing influence in the region and its potential to use the port for military purposes. In response, the Greek government has assured that the port will not be used for military purposes and that it will continue to operate under Greek law and the European Union's regulations. Despite these concerns, China has continued to invest heavily in the port of Piraeus, expanding its operations and infrastructure to accommodate the increasing volume of trade between China and Europe. As of 2021, the port has become one of the busiest in the Mediterranean. handling millions of containers each year and serving as a key transit point for goods traveling between China and Europe. It seems that China's acquisition of the Piraeus port in Greece has been a controversial move among European nations, who view China's involvement in the port as unwise. However, China seems to have a strategic plan in place for the port's development and improvement, which includes restoring and maintaining the port, hiring and training local workers, and increasing the port's overall output. China's ultimate goal is to use the port as a crucial step towards opening up the European market, and it appears that the port's strategic location and favorable environmental and climatic qualities make it an excellent choice for warehousing purposes. The Chinese government is committed to maintaining peace and good rapport with the Greek people, and they seem to be placing a higher priority on the Piraeus port's development, which they see as a key to lowering China's international trade expenses. Overall, it remains to be seen whether China's ownership of the port will lead to its improvement and increased economic advantages. But for now, China seems to be making strategic moves towards that end. While China's acquisition of the port of Piraeus has been met with skepticism and criticism from some European nations, it has also been viewed as a strategic move by China to expand its global influence and economic power. The port of Piraeus is a crucial gateway to Europe, as it is the closest western port to the Suez Canal, making it an ideal location for China to import and export its goods. Since China took over the port, it has invested heavily in the infrastructure and operations, which has led to a significant increase in its capacity to handle cargo shipments. China has also hired and trained many locals from the surrounding areas, which has helped to strengthen the workforce and the local economy. Despite concerns from some European nations, China's investment in the port of Piraeus has been a success. It has become a major transportation hub for Chinese goods entering Europe and has helped to lower China's international trade expenses. China's investment in the port is also seen as a key part of its Belt and Road Initiative, which is aimed at expanding trade and economic ties with countries across Asia, Europe, and Africa. Overall, there may have been initial concerns about China's acquisition of the port of Piraeus. Its investment in the port has led to significant benefits for both China and Greece. As China continues to expand its global influence, it is likely that it will continue to make strategic investments like this one in key locations around the world. The port is seen as a key hub for China's trade with Europe and the Middle East, allowing Chinese goods to enter European markets more quickly and cheaply. In addition to the port, China has also invested in a logistics hub, a rail freight terminal, and a passenger cruise terminal in Piraeus. The investment has had a significant impact on the local economy, providing jobs and boosting trade. Before China's investment, the port was in a state of disrepair and its operations were inefficient, leading to financial losses. However, with China's investment, the port has been modernized and its operations have been streamlined, making it a more competitive and attractive option for shipping companies. China's investment has not been without controversy, however. Some have raised concerns about China's growing economic influence in Greece and Europe, with some seeing it as a way for China to extend its political influence as well. Others have expressed concerns about the environmental impact of increased shipping activity in the area. That's all. Thank you for watching. Do not forget to like and subscribe to our channel and ring the bell icon to get more videos.